Hi, hello everyone, but not shouting. Thank you so much for joining us today in this very special panel discussion with artist Zanele Muholi in their exhibition here. My name is Carine Harmand. I'm a curator at Tate, and I'm the curator of this exhibition. And I would like to start by introducing the artist today, Zanele Muholi, who is a South African artist, visual activist, working in photography, video, sculpture, and painting. From the early 2000s, Muholi has documented and celebrated the lives of South Africa's Black, lesbian, gay, trans, queer, and intersex communities. Their mission is, to quote them, to rewrite a Black, queer, and trans visual history of South Africa for the world to know of our resistance and existence. Muholi has had the impressive number of 64 solo exhibitions, and this one is one of the most expansive of this exhibition, for the context, was opened at Tate Modern in 2020, but it opened in the midst of a national lockdown, so it had to close after 5 weeks. So it was decided that it would come back later. It went on a tour to 8 different countries around Europe before coming back here and opening earlier this year in actually a more expanded version, because this time the exhibition includes Muholi's new practice of sculpture, and maybe you have seen them, but there are 4 incredible sculptures in the exhibition. I'm also joined today by Fatoş Üstek, who is an amazing curator, writer, and also the co-founder of Frank, Fair Artists Pay, which is a community interest company. And Fatoş is also the curator of Frieze Sculpture this year. And maybe some of you have seen Frieze Sculpture already, but there is another amazing sculpture by Zanele Muholi in that exhibition. So yes, I'm gonna start by letting Fatoş take on.
Thank you, Carine, and welcome everyone. Apologies for a delayed start. Zanele had a big group, and I think they were having a conversation. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be in the show and doing this talk in the environment of an exhibition. We were very much interested with Carine and also the Tate team and Gallery Southern Guild to kind of like do an event that would mark Zanele Muholi's practice that is taking place both in an institutional context, in a prominent institution having a solo show, but also showcasing their sculptural practice at Frieze Sculpture this year. And we want to kind of like take you through a journey of talking about the exhibition that we're seated here and going into the practice of Zanele Muholi, and also perhaps looking at the process of this exhibition and what it is bringing, and as well as looking at the inside and outside of making art public. So first, I want to start with a question in this room, Faces and Phases, that you worked with a trans community that is also based in London, and there are new pieces that are added up recently. Could we perhaps start from that, and then we could go and expand onto this wide oeuvre of your practice?
First off, I'd like to say thank you so much to the new friends that I have met here. And Aisha is the troublemaker. There's this beautiful human being here. Her name is Aisha, who is a community member, also the owner of, I don't even know what to say. The person who say Common Press is the person that I gone in the dungeon to interview. Aisha is the owner of the Common Press, which is a queer trans human space that exists here. I will tell you something about what I do. It's very important for us as photographers to know the people that we photograph by their names, because naming is political, especially in spaces like this one. And for the past 22 days, I worked tirelessly. I'm exhausted right now. And I keep on asking myself why I do what I do. There's Casey here in front who just walk into the shop, the bookshop, to do their own things. And then Aisha said, Zanele is here. Could you please participate in this project? I see Toby. Toby, I haven't edited your work, but I see you. I see beautiful people. Leo is here. I see, and I'm short-sighted. Seven is here. May I please, before we even carry on with this exercise and process, Londoners, this is your space. Please come forward. The people that I photographed here in London who are present in this room, Seven, I see you. Raps, I see you. Toby, I see you. Aisha, I see you. Andrea, I see you. I'm calling names now. And it doesn't matter whether your picture is on the wall or not. The beat goes on. We're still continuing with this project. Please come forward. These are some of the individuals. Please come, take over. This is your space. Come. We have plenty of space. Yeah. And Joy is here. This is beyond one Pride Day, because there's a tendency of us existing when it's Pride. We are here 24/7, 365 days of the year. These people exist. I exist. We exist. It's very rare that as a black person, as black queer person, you get to be given a space this much in any space. Cario, is that you? Is Cario here? I thought Cario was here. So being given an opportunity to do this work and also to be present and be presented, I thought to myself that this project cannot be possible without these individuals. I'm a villager, I live in a village. If you invite me to your party, I come with my cousins and sisters and my friends and my girlfriends. So when I work with Carine, and I like confuse people a lot, because what is in my head, if translated otherwise, the only best way will be through photograph. And it is these photographs that make sense, and this work belongs to us. And it is not about me, it's about us. We could create this archive together. We could share this information and these noises together. It cannot be done by one person. And I just want to say today, like right now, in case I don't make it tomorrow, I'm truly grateful and thankful for the time that you have taken to stand in front of me. And nobody that you didn't know, where it only took one person to convince you to be part of this project. I humbly say to all of you, thank you. Thank you. To Trevin, Julian, that team back at home. Aisha, Trevin had to make sure that the images of Londoners are fixed and produced in South Africa and printed in South Africa, and she came with them on Wednesday. So we couldn't, all that happened after last week Wednesday could not be printed. So please forgive me and bear with me. It's not intentional. I don't want you to think that the South Africans are framed. We are not framed. This is an ongoing project, and it doesn't end here. Aisha already has plans, and will be asking other, galleries or museums to house this massive London faces of London, because we need to see ourselves in spaces like this. When you walk into any museum, you shouldn't ask yourself questions, where are we? Why are other people, projected instead of us? So we all owe it to ourselves to do something. I don't know if any one of you may like to say something. Otherwise, it's been such a beautiful experience to work with you.
I just wanted to say I'm so grateful for this experience of like being photographed with the intention of like archiving Black queer existence. Because I feel like looking up at all these faces in this exhibition, in this gallery, like the first time I saw this, I was genuinely like I was crying because I was like, I've never seen this many Black, queer, masculine presenting, gender diverse individuals in one room. And I think I'm just grateful for the experience to be integrated into that like level of history and like archiving, and whether that be like in the most interpersonal ways possible. Like when I met Zanele, it was like at a poetry gig, and it was like they really just like, they just listen and they just look at you and they take you in as you are. And I think I'm just grateful for that experience to have been seen on, like, to be seen as an African queer person fully and by an older person as well. So I'm just very grateful for that, and I'm really proud of you, and I'm excited to see what you do next.
I just wanted to thank everybody that took up, I guess, the opportunity to be part of this project with us all. I saw Zanele earlier this year, and this idea kind of started manifesting, and it's so good to see it to fruition now. And I just wanted to say that we deserve to be visible, and we deserve to be in these spaces. And as time goes by, I think it's so important to have our allies as well championing and also asking the questions, why are we not in certain spaces? I hope this is just the beginning of changing the narrative and building upon what Zanele has been creating for so many years. So this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I wanted to also say thank you for photographing me. And I think the way I am, I've been so conditioned in the way I present through growing up in a white heteronormative society and working for over 20 years in spaces where the Black woman was expected to present in a certain way to be accepted or palatable, sorry, I'm losing my words, I'm nervous, palatable, that I actually at this point would not let anybody photograph me without having any authority over how the image would be retouched and presented afterwards. So when you obviously offered to photograph, I was very aware that I wouldn't have any further input into the artistic process of bringing it up into hanging in the Tate, but I also haven't been photographed by somebody who I classify as someone like myself, a queer, female-born person, of color, Black person. Yeah, so I just, for the first time in a very long time in my life, just let the process go and let you do with the picture of me whatever you wanted to do. And it's a really humbling experience. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Seven. I just want to say thank you to Zanele and Aisha for making me a part of this exhibition, and this space means so much to me, being as I'm a female, masculine female, and be seen the way I am and just be photographed with all these amazing people. And not just that day when I was photographed, it was really intimate, and the fact that you took the time to find out about me, my story, that's quite beautiful. And today's my birthday. I'm a bit emotional for being here. And yeah, it just feels like really magical just being in this space, just to be yourself and just being different, you know? So like, I'm really nervous, but I appreciate it. So thank you guys for having me here. Yeah, thank you, man.
I think it doesn't end here. The beat goes on. We continue with the project, and like I said, I'm grateful. Yes. We have Khadija too, who's supposed to be doing some performance, but I think they will come on board whenever they are ready. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are they going to do the performance now?
I don't know. They will let us know. She's here.
I just want to say thank you so much, Muholi. Thanks, Prof. This is what I love about your work, actually. What I love about your work is that it is a work by Black queer people, for Black queer people. And you, every time I come into this room, I feel like this is really the power of your work, is the way in which you can hold all these stories. You have a profound connection and relationship with every single person in this room. And I even love that, like we came here and we're like, we're gonna do this panel discussion, and you said, no, everyone here is in the work and they are gonna speak for themselves. And I think that's really powerful in how you do it. It's also really rare that we have an exhibition that evolves actually in a museum, like the Tate, for example. It really, I'm not going to say never because I haven't been here forever, but it really rarely happens. And you make this possible through your practice. So this room before last week had gaps in the hanging. So the works that aren't framed weren't there, and the gaps for you were places for the people who still haven't been part of this project, who still haven't been photographed, or people who are no more, or people who have decided because of safety reasons that they didn't want to be in it. But now you have this new strand of the work, which is with people in London, and they are now part of this exhibition and of this work, and also of your heart, I feel, because these are connections that will continue. Yeah.
I want to add to that as well, and thank you, Zanele. I think maybe that is the kind of transformative power of your practice, because as Carine saying, we were just thinking that this would be a straightforward conversation, exploring inside and outside of institutional frameworks, but you made it into an happening. And I think that is very special, so thank you so much for that. I wish we thought about inviting all these amazing people to the stage, but thank you so much for doing it on behalf of all of us. So thank you so much for coming to the stage and being here. It is very, very special. And I think I want to talk about this transformative power a bit more, because claiming presence and claiming visibility is a force. But when does it become transformative for you? When can we move the mountains? When do we move the mountains?
We can move the mountains if we break conventions. Sometimes it's like we have to follow some fixated ideas of how structures are supposed to be. And when you work, against the grain or out of the box, you perceive to be deviant. So I live in my own space where life should be, or supposed to be, kind and kinder. And I'm seated here and I'm thinking, look at these beautiful people. We need to occupy this wall as well. So we're still working because this wall needs some life. Yeah. Transformation is who we are really, is what we're supposed to be. And also we do that with our own intellect in a way. And if we do so, we need to do it respectfully. But it means that we need to be flexible as well. Because a lot of people end up not doing their personal projects because of the systems in place that either exclude them or they tell them that they cannot do something. So for me, it depends what time of the day and when can that transformation takes place. And it should not be transformation like how we write the word transform. It should be based on how we feel and how we wish to execute whatever project that is in place, you know. So there's personal transformation, and there's that transformation that is aimed at publics. So with this regard, that transformation is how it's done in this room, yeah.
Thank you. I want to ask in the context of making an exhibition, because you're bringing different bodies of work that are either ongoing series or works that have been completed. How do you bridge the relationship between the stories and the narratives and the identities, let's say the spectrum of different identities, marginalized communities forward in these different iterations of projects?
Most of the projects that I'm working on, they're ongoing. There's nothing that is complete. Like I said, the beat goes on, And how I carry on with that, it's about trust and also expanding the practice or practices of what I do. And the narrative sometimes kind of like similar from one space to the next, or based on the theme, maybe, then it changes the context altogether. But with this regard, I can't say that this is the end of it all. This is ongoing projects, Whether we're looking at the marginalized, because the marginalizers, they have fun, They really don't care about us. So it means that we need to make sure that we make ourselves comfortable. And then continuity means that we are consistent as well with what we are saying, with whatever politics, with whatever situations, whatever issues that are in place, we say. I kept on saying we are here. I keep on saying we are here. We are not going anywhere, whether in this space or in another space. I kept on saying there are many people like me. And I keep on saying there are so many people whose voices are not heard because of those who decide how to do these things, And I'm saying we could change them. And we owe it to ourselves to be heard and be recognized in ways that we want to. So these projects are ongoing. So there's no particular project or series or body of work in which I could say that I'm done now, let life be. No. So in another space, it will be faces and phases with other faces, maybe projected differently, because I just want to make sure that this narrative, touches lives, and this narrative is used for education, and this narrative is related to the next person who is standing or seated next to you. Yeah.
I want to ask both of you, actually, also Carine, working on curating such an extensive project, did you come across any hardships? I know we are in the exhibition to talk about it, but I'm curious, because this is also a very strong body of work that is also making a very strong statement.
Yeah, I think the challenge and the beauty as well is about how do we hold, as a space like Tate, how do we hold these stories? How are we true to the people that we are representing? And that's very much first, like Muholi's work does that really beautifully. And it's very much about going by what Prof wanted to do and how Prof, the ways in which Prof had communicated and discussed with every person shown in this exhibition as well. And we have, throughout the exhibition, between 2020 and this one, for example, there are portraits that we haven't shown, that were shown before, because people have changed their minds. And it was really important that we, are very respectful of that. As I was saying earlier, it can be like for questions of safety, it can be for lots of different questions. So that's something, I don't know, there's probably like 600 people represented in this exhibition. So you have to really know if people are okay with being shown in this context, if people are aware of what the context is, how they feel about their pictures here as well. And I think that's something that doesn't happen all the time, and is something that we've worked on with Muholi. Lavinia was really, really amazing in helping on this exhibition as well, and your community and colleagues.
One of the biggest challenges is when one of us dies, then which leaves the gap in between these spaces. And in my headspace, we cannot only be read as like when one dies and there's an obituary. Each and every person who's featuring in this series, they have lives and also they have professions, and they are doing amazing work in their own respective communities. And I think that the challenges then is when people do not get access to spaces in which they could showcase their work. That's the first thing. And also, then the next challenge is when we read about a person that is dead. You know, dead bodies make beautiful history, of course, but why can't we celebrate people when they are still here? It doesn't have to be a person who have experienced corrective rape and their bodies are found, you know, dismembered somewhere. It doesn't have to be, you know, pictures of a depressed community or people who have died from mental health. It doesn't have to. Let us live and love and share experiences and this documentation whilst people could still hear about what they have done for our communities, whether in South Africa or here. So the biggest challenge has been of people's safety, and also some people saying, I cannot be part of this. And also people transition as well, and they don't see themselves as how they looked before, and which is what you see in some of the images, and people have transitioned, and maybe Colin Fazwe agreed to be part of this after transitioning, and because he's the guy that I've worked with for, I mean, the first picture was taken in 2013, so 11 years on, a person might say, I don't want to be part of that. I'm a man now, and I don't even want other people to know who I was before. That has been one of my biggest challenges. Other bodies of work that I've worked on is where people were partners with those that they were partners with, and then people separate, you know, and a person would say, I don't want to be part of this image anymore because that was me then, and what I am and who I'm with now does not appreciate that picture. So that's another challenge. 3, 4, 5 challenge. There are really not enough resources that are aimed at queer presence. So which hurts me so much, because if there was, we won't even be talking about the need of expanding the archive anymore. And the challenge that I've had here is that we have had like less discussions, like maybe 20 of the people who are here chose to say, what do we want to talk about? But then the institution maybe is interested in the parties. Maybe the people want to have proper discussions. KM challenged me yesterday and spoke about gender identity, about queerness, and about parenting. These are kind of conversations that we need in this space, where we turn, you know, the museum into an educational, viable space. And it shouldn't be about queers and parties, because these are brilliant individuals. And some of them, they are, you know, they are scholars. Maybe they don't do parties. They are trying to finish their masters and, you know, dissertations, etc. So I guess that we could use this space as queer people in the most mindful manner, beyond just the party. And please forgive me if you like parties. But we need to have, you know, space in which we discuss money, how we progress, housing, our well-being, future, health and fitness. Maybe we'll have a class here at Faces and Phases where we'll have aerobics. It would be nice.
I want to shout out actually to the Muholi Art Institute in Cape Town, which Prof founded a few years ago, which is an amazing space. In the last room of this exhibition, there is a bit about it, and there are only 20 posters of the numerous talks and activities that have been happening there. It's a space that supports Black queer creatives in South Africa. A really incredible space, which I invite people to, read about and support if you can as well. But I think spaces like that are led by artists and based on practices like this one should be, like spaces that inspire museums like the Tate in terms of their activities and their program. But I want to go back to something you were talking about earlier, Prof. This idea that, with visibility comes a lot of vulnerability, especially for people who have been historically oppressed. And I wonder, in your practice, how have you managed this for yourself as well? Like, how vulnerable you have, how have you dealt with that vulnerability that you've had to encounter yourself, but also the people around you? How do you find this balance between the important activist work that you're doing of making these stories visible, but then the vulnerability that comes with it?
I have not mastered any of dealt vulnerability, I'm just lost in space, looking for my GPS to guide me to the therapist to get things right. I'm just a mess, to be honest. So if it wasn't, honestly, I have to come out. Yeah, no, I'm a mess, honestly. I'm trying like daily to heal, because the work that we do is hectic, Just to a person who sees me, because a person who sees me photographing someone will think it's so easy to press the shutter button. There's a lot of energy that is involved in there between the person who is in front of you and me. By the time you finish doing that, you are so exhausted. You don't know how to deal with it. For most Black folks, you understand energy most. It's not the wife that connects the internet. It's a different wife, It's a different connection. So no, I've been avoiding therapy for so long. Please forgive me, therapist in the house. I will do it, Andrea, I promise. So I've been avoiding that because it will bring back memories that I think that I have kind of like suppressed them in a way. Yeah, so I'm vulnerable beyond measure, if I could say. And it will take some time because the loss that we have endured as a community, the loss that I've endured as a family member to some family, and like losing people, and also being queer is painful, is work on its own, People think that we wake up and just want to and be a glue to someone's life. It's beyond just that. So that on its own, means something. So it's hard. It's really hard. But I'm overdue for therapy.
I want to ask about the self-portraits. Are they perhaps a form of healing for you? Because you work a lot with self-portraits. Also at Frieze Sculpture, we have Bambata 1, and that is also a self-portrait. Maybe could you talk about what self-portraiture means, especially when you're also working so in-depth with different people, different contexts? Is this a place of reflection, self-reflexivity, or exploration?
the self-portraiture series on the other side, which is called Somnyama Ngonyama. The Somnyama, which means the dark one, and also acknowledging and embracing blackness. And Ngonyama is my mother's clan name, who have since passed. It's a way in which one is making, you do your self-introspection, you make statement, you say to yourself, you want to remember yourself. So the project is aimed at not forgetting me, because sometimes we lose ourselves along the way. So I wanted to remember me. I wanted to make this statement. I wanted to say to myself and many other people, it's okay to love yourself, Under heavy circumstances, you still need to connect with thyself. Yeah. Whereas with Bambata, which means comfort and also to cover, depends on how we define cover and covering and what we mean by comfort and comforting. It's based on a true story, painful story of death and losing people and discovering women's bodies in a space that weren't meant to be. So it's all those, layers that I'm trying to say. One is almost healing, but also not completely, because healing is a process on its own. Yeah, so I could take as many images as possible of other people, but what is it that I'm hiding of myself? So I'm trying to be honest to me, because in as much as any of the participants could share their truths with me, there's so much that I haven't said about myself to other people. And for some people that I have interviewed, I asked them, what is it that you want people to know about yourself? And also, why did you agree to participate? And another question, like, do you have questions for me? So if you do a lot of interviewing, you could hear that somebody's either avoiding a question or a person is simply hiding something. So I'm just a work in progress.
It's very beautiful, thank you. My last question is about exhibiting outdoors, because Frieze Sculpture takes place in English gardens, and it is open for all activity. It's open from dawn till dusk. That welcomes not only art enthusiasts and people who are interested in the art or professionals, but everyone from all different walks of life. So what does for you to kind of like show your work in a context that is very open to interpretation and very open to different take-ons? What do you think about that?
We're now at the Regent's Park. I like the public because it's not limited by time. There's no closing period, There's no 9 to 5, then the museum closes. Do you understand? There's no ticketing that you need to go to the gardens. It's an open space, it's free in that way. It's a liberated kind of experience to think of, maybe, yeah. Even if it's not free, but anywhere in the world, people need to have access to public art. In that way, they live and learn and love and be empowered, by the art. So in 2022, I had images in the forest in Mauritius. So I like being in the outside, really. And then in 2023, we had the Jardin Tuileries in Paris, also in the public space with more work outside. And the politics of that space then were these sculpture pieces being in the garden with mostly work of the dead artist, and then versus the living artist. That I think was powerful on its own. Now we are here at Frieze London, and I so wish that it could be like permanent exhibitions, then part-timing, because in that way it will mean that people have full access to the works, they live with the work, they age with the work, and then they get to read and write about the work and appreciate it some more. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because in the kind of like public realm conversations, everybody's now thinking about more commissioning temporarily rather than permanent, because there has been a lot of also like complications about permanent pieces, and that ideologies change, things get removed or things get cancelled. So it's interesting that you're interested in a kind of a more of a durational or a long-term relationship.
Yes, maybe even if it's a year. A year sounds like permanent. But then a month is not enough, you know. Not even for myself now, for other people as well, you know. For other people who are doing similar works, yeah. If, say, you're doing poetry, let it be part of the sculpture move, and in that way, people read every day, whenever they pass, and they know that somebody is saying something. So there's so many ways in which we could do this together. Yeah.
Also, another thing that I like about how you work with sculpture is you make them very much for people to interact with them. And when we opened this exhibition, we did a few tours with you and the public, and you were like touching the sculptures which are in the exhibition, like telling people to touch them, and I was like, oh my God, we just can't do this here. But that freedom that you have with the work is really, really amazing. I'm just conscious of time, and I want to leave time for the public to interact as well. Are there any questions or comments in the audience? I can send the mic.
There's a roving mic.
Is there any other question?
Thank you so much. It's really moving to be here. So, as a maker and as an Indian, I totally agree with the energy you were talking about. And also, if someone invited me somewhere, I would also take my entire family there. So I relate to that. I'm kind of interested in knowing, where do you go for healing yourself in between the making? What is, I mean, if you're open to answering that. Thank you.
I've been here for almost a month, and then Khadija too is an expert in physio and massage and things like that, and promised that she'll give me one. Yeah, no, I haven't done any much work, to be honest. Yeah, I've been pushing this project. Yeah.
Is the work itself healing at times in ways?
The beautiful people, you know, I'm curious about people, you know. The beautiful people that I meet along the way, they have so much to say. And some people are nice, and then other people are really not nice. But they're not aware that they are not nice. But it's part of my work, you know. So I work with Aisha a lot, and I get that possible healing was there. You know, to have someone to ask you if you have eaten, and then they buy you coffee or they offer you coffee, that means a lot. Yeah. And I'm not asking for much. So I drink a lot of hot water. So the first thing that I will get when I get to the bookshop, like, okay, we have your hot water. Would you like to have some tea? I felt so good after that. That is healing on its own, because sometimes we assume that people have everything, and there's nothing like everything, you know. So, yeah, no, I haven't done that one, where I sit with a shrink, and then I tell my childhood traumas. No, but I've had good hot water, cups of hot water, because somebody who cares offered me, yeah.
Hi, over here. I'm originally from Zim. So like just to see someone from like the south of Africa, like doing it at the Tate, like I just think that's really awesome. And it just looks really beautiful. And obviously there isn't much queer representation in Zimbabwe. So like I take my kind of representation where I can. I'm from Dublin as well. And I do a lot of grassroots organizing and stuff, and a lot of people aren't happy with my work and stuff. And it feels like I'm always kind of going through an uphill battle in trying to make spaces for Black queer people. And I liked what you said about being able to move mountains by defying convention. But what do you do to take care of yourself in that? Because I am exhausted. I am tired. So yeah, if you have any insight, I would love to hear it.
I guess that's a session on its own, which is supposed to happen at Tate. The basic question, like, how do creatives find that space of healing? Because that question is for me and also for the person next to you and the person in front of you and back as well. I mean, maybe I should learn from the members of Tribe to tell me how they do it, you know, because we are here to learn. Yeah. And then also talking about Zim, there's a person on the far, like top right there. That's a Sky, and I photographed Sky here in the UK, in Brighton, in 2010. 14 years ago, I photographed that person. Because there are times where we don't need to look at borders. I mean, there's a thin or fine line between Zimbabwe and South Africa, between South Africa and Lesotho, Mozambique, Zambia. I would have liked it if you said I'm from home. Yeah. Because it's just become too complicated with a lot of xenophobia in place as well.
Oh, yeah.
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 Otherwise, like, I'm here to learn from experts. They are therapists seated right in front of you. You could have their numbers. Cassie and Lacey. So Andrea maybe might guide us, you know, and tell us where to go, and then who are there. And a lot of people here in London that I've met recently, they are experts, and there's so much to learn from them. I haven't personally gone in depth into finding out how they do it, but I guess that's one major question that we should ask ourselves. Or maybe that's the first question that I should ask. Yesterday, I photographed Paula, and who had a lot to share. So what's nice about this is that I learn. But healing, I mean, we come from spaces where our parents themselves, before they gave birth to us, they were dealing with different traumas, you know? So it's become like a curse and extended as well because they never had that moment or spaces of healing. So I think that's another session. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there another question?
There's a mic there.
You can ask your question.
Thank you. That was really hard to get the mic. Yeah, just wanted to say, love you, Zanele. Yeah, I was just like, I guess it's just like a comment, like based off of what this lovely Southern African person was saying. I'm also from Dublin, so yeah. But I think about like the healing aspect, and I think I just wanted to, I guess, meditate on the fact that within Zanele bringing this body of work, like it also costs so much, and like even meeting you, I could see how hard you worked and like how much time, like the interview, I was like, okay, it's gonna be like 3 questions, and you really asked me questions beyond the surface level to the point where I felt more nervous in the interview than I've felt in a long time. And I think that talks to like the lack of depth people go in when they're talking to Black queer people. And I feel like to have this amount of work and good work and amazing work takes so much from you. And like, I think that even through how you are speaking now, like I can see how much effort you've put into all of this. And I guess my comment's just more on, like, it's a combination of like observations and also what you were saying of like, how can we find healing within all of this and taking care of ourselves. And I feel like because of how like how kind of tough the system and capitalism can be. It's hard to find those breaks of healing. Like you said, like a lot of people in this exhibition may not have had that ability to pursue arts because of how harsh the systems are. So I feel like as a result, you're pursuing it for yourself and for everybody, and like to like push forward these collective stories. And I think I just wanted to note how hard that truly is. And I feel like for me, maybe, even there's no comparison here, sorry, but I said for me as like an artist, I guess the only thing that helps me with how hard living under, honestly, capitalism is as an artist, is just having people around you and having that community. And I feel like within all these photos, I can imagine how in depth you've gone through questions and intimacy with everybody, and I feel like that's something you inherently have already. So I think I just wanted to touch on that, and I guess just pinpoint how hard you've worked for all of this. So thank you.
So I wanted to ask a question, maybe it's one for the curators, but should we be demanding more from institutions like the Tate? Because people expose themselves, and at the moment, certainly in London, it's kind of, I can see almost, having lived all these years, almost a trend returning of, you know, sort of black artists being shown and queer artists being shown, and that those intersectionalities. And I quite often leave traumatised and with what I've seen, and there's nowhere for me to meaningfully feel, feed back to these institutions. And I also think they have a duty of care to the artists, you know, who, if you look at people like, you know, Barbara Walker and Claudette Johnson and Sonia Boyce, it's almost like they were disposed of when they were, and I would be very worried that something, you know, this is, you know, when anything touches on the emotions, and especially hidden histories, it raises up things, and quite often you're with very privileged people, and there's no way of meaningfully feeding back. And I'll give you an example. At the Royal Academy, they had William Kentridge, obviously this big white South African artist. They had some found footage or archive footage of sort of the rioting and black people being shot. That was in one room. I walked into the next room and there was a little caption there saying, some visitors may find it distressing, you know, sort of, that there is found footage of a rhinoceros being shot. And I'm just thinking, Jesus Christ, I've just seen black people being shot in the previous room. And it took me about 3 letters of pushing to get them to remove that caption. And I just feel that the art institutions, it ties into what she's saying, that sorry, pardon me, I didn't ask your pronoun, that they make money out of this, big money, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of care for the artists, and there doesn't seem a way for marginalised communities to feed back into those institutions meaningfully.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I would say yes, I really encourage everyone to always ask more of institution and to ask and to feedback this kind of feedback as well. That's things that I've experienced as well going into exhibitions, into that William Kentridge exhibition actually at the RA. So yeah, I think this is a really important aspect, and the idea of caring for the artist too. And I think with this exhibition and working with you, Prof, thinking about how do we care for the artists, how do we work differently as well with artists who come from a different context was really important. Like we had, after the 2020 show, we had meetings within Tate to talk about that, and to talk particularly about hospitality, for example. You know, like when Prof travels to their exhibition, they bring people who are participants in their work, people who are friends, colleagues, family with them as well. And it was really important that we understand also as an institution that that's a way of working in general when the Tate has an exhibition of an artist, to invite the artist, and that's it. And so it was important that we kind of like communicate that across the organization as well, that, you know, actually arts artists work differently and have different communities, and we need to cater for these needs and these communities as well. It doesn't mean that the institution has learned everything or that has understood, and I think there is always more to be done. But it does teach us that, you have to plan for resources in advance for these kinds of things as well, and that you have to be much more flexible. So yes, I think by working more and more with artists from different backgrounds, from different places. I work particularly with artists from Africa and the African diaspora. But from doing that more and more, we can make organizations more flexible. I don't think they will ever be as flexible as we want, sadly. But they are, and I hope they will be, more open to hearing your feedback, everyone's feedback. And I'm always telling people, please do say what you want. Please do say what you didn't like. Please do say what you think you would need after seeing content, after seeing an artist being shown as well. And same for artists.
Here is an example of how it can be different and is different here already. So that's what's so wonderful thing about this show, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But there is always more to learn and better to do. So yes, do say it. Do you want to add anything?
Thank you so much for showcasing love and to show how you appreciate everybody you work with. So I have a question about how you deal with negative feedback, and if you ever feel protective, if you ever have the feeling like, I need to protect this person or myself, because you're very open in showing who you are, or at least a part of who you are. And I just wondered if you ever felt like, no, I will never show this. This is really for me and for my process, or this particular story is definitely something I don't want to share with the world.
It happens most of the time. Whatever that you don't see here is kept private, yeah. I'm one person who don't like tensions, and if you come too much or by force to me, I keep away by all means, because it's just like any conflict causes further stress. So I keep away. I work with Carine. There were a lot of images that we have to keep away of the public eye. And luckily she understood, because I was worried of people's safety and also whatever negativity that came with what should have been shown. So to avoid drama, we had to keep that away. So it happens all the time. If somebody were to say, I don't want to be in the show now, before it becomes too dramatic, we pull that out for peace sake. Because again, we have to respect people and do not think only of ourselves just for the sake of art. If you say to me, you don't want, I have to respect that, But this is one passage where things were really like heated, There were many, these images could fill up this whole gallery. But then there were many other individuals who felt like, I can't do this anymore. I've transitioned, I don't want anything to do with that. It starts from there, protecting the person first before the photographer. Because then it speaks on that person's safety, also it speaks on that person's well-being. And if I say I'm pushing it about me, it's all about me, it won't be nice anymore. Because it would mean that I'm more thinking of myself than the person who is in the photograph. Who matters the most than the photographer? Who matters the most more than the curator and the institution? We just need to negotiate space and also understand that people have feelings. Yeah. So is it about the photography? Is it about me pushing the archive? It's beyond that. Relationships are very important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. The museum closes at 6 p.m., so you have still about 45 minutes if you want to see the rest of the exhibition. Thank you again so much. Thank you to all of you for having come today. Thank you, Fatoş. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to Muholi and Fatoş.